in any case, they are not members of this platform and lack that culture. So I have requested Mr. James Tweheyo, he will chair the session, and he will start us off, and Mr. Godbert Mshabe will make few remarks and then immediately open it to us. When Kuraji arrives here, he will make his key presentation. We'll allow him time, but we'll also reduce his time and punish him a bit. So, over to you. I'm being reminded to make a small announcement, which I thought is present news for you. Mr. James Tweheyo is the new Secretary General of the Uganda Teachers Association Union, Uganda Teachers Unions. So we have one of our own climbing, and we'll continue to rise from this session. So, Mr. Tweheyo, you are welcome to steer us through this meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to this session and thank you for keeping time. I know others are struggling, those who manage it, because you can realize the time, and would like to move as fast as we can to be able to beat our time frame for being here. Certainly, as we wait for the other colleagues to join in, I will start today a different way, because I'll give chance to many of you to give your views on this issue as they come in, and when they come in, we shall give them a chance to present, and we shall continue brainstorming until we close. We are all aware of the situation in the region. We know what is happening in Congo and what has been happening. We know majorly the players in this field, and we have heard and known about the M23. So I'll call upon you to give your views, particularly on this M23 and the implications on peace and security. Because once Congo is unstable, and once the players are believed to be from the region, then certainly it has implications. And as a think tank, I believe you have a lot to offer. For the start, I think I will call upon Godiba to give a brief background on M23, or at least what you know about M23, what you have heard. What is it, Godiba?
Yeah, thank you, Jameson. Good morning, everybody. I think what I would really want to say is say that we know for certain that this region, the Great Lakes region, is a region that in the last couple of years, we thought that there was hope that this region was beginning to stabilize. And I think that starts from the point around 1996, when President Clinton visited Uganda. And that's the time when the former Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, christened the young revolutionaries that had come to power in this sub-region as the new breed of African leaders. And that was the breed that was in Kigali, in Kampala, in Addis, in Asmara. I like calling it the Kigali, Kampala, Addis, Asmara axis. That from that point, this region, there was hope that you could see that things were happening on the political front, on the governance front, on the economic front, and actually even on the social front, that you would see that in all these countries the social indicators were definitely improving. And that is before the four countries with the four leaders actually turned the guns on each other in different forms. And Uganda is fighting with Rwanda, Ethiopia is fighting with Eritrea, and then we begin to see another crisis emerging. But even then, I think that for the sub-region, you could still see that there was always a glimmer of hope that things could stabilize and we could remain on an upward moving trajectory. I think the breakout of the should I call it the breakout? No, the conclusion of the comprehensive peace agreement between SPLA and the government of Northern Sudan was another glimmer of hope that actually this region was really making movement. And of course that followed by the decision by the government of Uganda to deploy troops in Somalia that almost brought Uganda at the center of regional peacekeeping, something that was more or less like being elevated at that level. Again, all these are really positive aspects of what we've been going through and what we've been witnessing in the sub-region. I think that the emergence of M23 as a recognized rebel movement in DRC is really the downside or the undercurrent of what we thought was a situation that is evolving and could be stabilized. And for me, I worry a lot about the M23 with the limited knowledge, and some of us may not have the level of intelligence that many of you around the table have. But I think as scholars, as people who follow the region, my biggest worry about M23 is that there is almost no comprehensive understanding of who M23 is. And I would be very, very keen to listen to colleagues here on the table who can actually articulate in very precise details and with the necessary empirical evidence to be able to share with us and say, this is M23, this is the agenda, these are the power brokers around the group. Because I think that M23, the threat posed by M23, in my view, is like twofold. One is that you get Uganda and Rwanda at the center of the crisis, and of course with DRC, but also some of the unconfirmed reports that actually you have Angola involved behind the scenes with M23 actually not with M23, on the side of the DRC and other groups within the sub-region. I think what may be useful in terms of educating ourselves and seeing whether actually we have any contribution or role to play is to say, what is this group called M23 and who are the key players? And I hope we can be able to spend some time really articulating those issues.
Thank you, Godba. I'll come to OO later because Uganda is one of the countries that is being accused by DR of being a player and an active player, but I'll come to you later. Hussein, what do you think? What could be the implication of this M23 rebellion to the peace and security of the region? Hussein Kashirinji. I begin with Arthur. Hussein is tossing the coin to Arthur.
M23 is an offshoot of the 1996, of course, invasion of Congo by Rwanda and Uganda and many countries, which subsequently culminated into the first African World War, where over 11 countries were involved in a conflict that was later ended with the withdrawal of Rwanda and Uganda and Angola and Zimbabwe. And let me also say that the M23 comes from that's the March 23rd, 2003 agreement. That's where the name comes from. In 2003, the government of Congo, with the support of the international community, signed a peace agreement with the forces that actually were royal. First, actually, to Timothy Rubanga, who is now in The Hague, but the field commander was Ntaganda, the Terminator, as they call him now. And that paved the way for the integration of the rebels into the Congolese armed forces. M23 now claims that since the integration into Congolese armed forces, that most of their leaders have been systematically assassinated or killed by the government of Congo. And actually, at the time when they decided to launch the rebellion, their forces were being they were being dispatched to different parts of Congo, and they feared that they would be killed there. But in the agreement, actually, they had agreed with the government of Congo to remain in control of the area now where actually the rebellion is in Eastern Congo. So when they started distributing them, and with the insight that some of their leaders were dying, then the war, they decided actually to launch a war. They call it, that's the claim of survival. I think the second point that we need to look at, of course, are these negative forces that have occupied that Eastern Congo, where actually the state has no control at all. It is not only M23 that operates in that region. The former Interahamwe have, they control some territories there. The alleged PRA, People's Redemption Army, which was allegedly linked to Chiza BSJ, also are thought to operate around that one, and of course the ADF. So it's a cocktail of so many negative forces that sometimes provide an environment for anyone to use them to advance their political and economic agenda.
By negative, what do you imply?
The negative...
I remember in the conference that was taking place in Munyonyo,
Yeah.
when M23 was referred to as negative, Kagame rose up arms.
Okay, let me say... then
So who is positive and who is negative? If anything,
I didn't...
You have the right to refer any group negative, depending on the perspective.
I think this is not my new terminology. Most of the forces that have been operating there, killing people, looting and pillaging, have been called negative, including ADF and their atrocities. Of course, M23 has been cleaned since, but actually the reputation, their reputation has earned the leader of the struggle, who is Ntaganda, as Terminator. And actually, most people refer to him, and I know Kano Kreje will come and will tell you, they say actually Ntaganda is the equivalent of Joseph Kony, raping and killing. So that's what has earned him a name. And therefore, such a Terminator cannot be leading a positive force. But of course, Rwanda has been, of course, accused. 2 UN reports have accused Uganda and Rwanda for supporting M23. That doesn't mean that they support. I would want the Ugandan government to come up and tell us what is happening. But for now, it is seen as a negative force. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
On learning, I wanted to hear from Colonel Felix Kuleji because I wanted to learn more. I thought it is his preoccupation to know much about M23, so I thought I would learn. But now that he's not yet here, I am confused about M23. There is Bosco Ntaganda. There is the other one who is in a safe house. Dismas Nkunda. No, sorry. No, not Dismas. Rom Shana says from Barada. Then there is a bishop or a pastor who is supposed to be the political leader of M23, which now is called actually Congolese Revolutionary Army, and maybe the political front is Congolese Revolutionary Front. So I honestly wanted to hear from Felix about the evolution of this M23. Uganda has taken a central role in mediating the conflict in the region. And so I wanted to hear from the military perspective what is going on there. I don't think that I necessarily agree with Arthur that M23 is some sort of fusion. I don't think that you have a lot of people who speak different languages and they are together called M23. It may closely be one ethnic grouping, which of course is interesting. I also thought we would also look at that, the ethnic dimension They speak a certain language which other neighbors, understand very well. So I don't think that you have a lot of tribes inside M23. So and I guess that is why the UN is accusing Rwanda and Uganda of supporting M23, because of also that dimension. So I want to learn. For me, I want to learn, James.
Thank you. Any comment? Any comment? Yes, Peter. Pass the mic to Peter Chivazo.
Where the prime question is this actually a military adventure for whoever? And my answer is the military, whichever is there, is purely a tool of certain other games at play. The military is only used as a tool to deliver the other perspectives. We are talking the Congo, bordering Uganda, Rwanda, and on the upper side, Southern Sudan. And I'm going to be callous for the start. Purely for me, at the economic level, who is in the Congo? Which part of the Congo? Who governs that part? The area has been for a large part, and not yesterday when Kabila and Kabila the older one and the others invaded the Congo. But since Mobutu, the area has been largely ungoverned. And therefore, if I could marshal a force, I would go into the Congo and create private wealth. It is a territory that has allowed itself to be used to create private wealth. So, for a country, and this is my problem with, OO is not in government, OO is on the periphery of government. I don't see government here in any way. I see a few DCs. But if you really have government, the DRC is also really on the hinges of what is called government. But if...
Peter, why would you like to doubt OO when he's the spokesperson of the party in the government?
A manager of the political party in power. He is not part of government.
But he, at least he must understand the operations of government because he's a spokesperson of the party in the lead. Anyway, go ahead. But you don't need to doubt his capacity anyway.
No, I do not doubt OO's capacity. I know that OO is barely in government. But anyway, away from that, this is the basic of this. States across the world, and this is the callous truth, grow by plundering nations that are unable to govern themselves. But these missions are carried out with clarity. You have missions like the old Leopold mission. You set out and say, I've created the Congo as an estate that I will plunder and deliver goodies, some of them to Belgium, some of them as private estate. You have missions like the IBER that set out as agents, quasi-agents of the British government. They go and loot and deliver loot to the government. You have missions like Latter-day missions that are in the Arab world. If you look at those, the government of America will come and bomb you flat. Bechtel and all the other groups that build and do roads, do dams, do all other manner of business, including supplying banana. The world's biggest supplier of banana is Dick Cheney. They are set up clearly with clarity that we will go and bomb you flat and our businesses will come down and trade. If that clarity is what Rwanda and Uganda had in the Congo, I'd be with them. It sounds callous, it sounds terrible for territorial integrity, but it is a mission that the world carries out. What happens here is while the Congo is stateless and ungoverned, Uganda and Rwanda are short on strategic mission. We are, if we are, in the Congo through M23 and then Ntaganda and then whichever agent we use, we do not have clarity of mission. And for as long as you have that, then even your responses become shambolic. I have had opportunity to listen to 3 people that speak for government in Kampala and 1 that speaks for government in Rwanda. The gentleman I heard from Rwanda, when the UN leaked report, leaked deliberately, came out, said, I am not going to comment on a leaked report. I think there is a total mission against the government of Rwanda. Then you had Asumani Kinji, and the most eloquent of all ministers, Orie Mokelo. He speaks. I love the way he speaks. There are other questions about what he says. Now, we also had an ambassador in the Congo. Neither of them was saying what the other was saying. It is either deliberate or it is because of lack of clarity of mission. And for me, that is where I'm at. Do we need M23 in the region? Can we avoid it? We can't, because the area we are dealing with is stateless. What happens to the states in the neighboring region? They need a clarity of mission. If we are going to plunder, let's go down there and do it as states.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who also happens to have been my teacher and my old boy at Ntare School. Now, I'll just go straight to the procedural aspect. First of all, I'm a UPDF captain, but for 8 years, I've been practicing as a United Nations expert human rights. So I will talk from my UN experience on the topic of the implication. I have heard some comments from the regional leaders, especially from Rwanda, saying that maybe the UN experts who made this report are not competent enough, or they were biased or something else, and to the effect that you just put it aside. I thought that was being kind of not careful, because the procedural aspect in UN is very, very careful. If the Security Council says that experts X, Y, and Z go and do this, the next stage is known. The report is stable. Actually, the simplest way of doing it in UN is when the armor goes down. The armor goes down, said, do we hereby resolve, as long as it is properly constituted, do we hereby agree in the Security Council that an expert team goes? Then the members said no objection. The armor goes down. The next stage, the report comes. What do we do with the report of? Now, for any leader to just sit and say, I enjoy sovereignty, the principle of sovereignty is there. We are all sovereign states, 195 of them. But I've warned myself, said, please, this procedural, that is how Gaddafi was attacked. You think it is a joke, and you say, no, we are sovereign. The next thing is, the armor goes down. Move to the next stage, we are past this stage, the armor goes down. Pass it to the military side for operationalization. The armor goes down. And the next day, Gaddafi is nowhere. So, the implication in the UN system is that UN is following it very systematically. And no leader can afford to just push it aside and say, let them go ahead. It will go step by step, and the armor will go down each step it goes. So I advise the regional leaders who are concerned and every party is that they should take care of this. If the resolution goes against your favor, and there be it, as long as the armor goes down. And it will go slowly by slowly, one stage to the next. The report comes back, the next stage. Now, therefore, in the UN perspective, it is a very serious matter. Anybody who would be implicated, it will be difficult to clear. So if you are innocent and you know that your position is clear, for example, the Great Lakes region under the leadership of Museveni, he has been trying that much. And I think at this stage, if I was one of them, I would be saying, listen, we have done our best and we are going to continue to do our best. We have transparently looked at these things, we have agreed as parties, and this is our next course of action. Rather than sitting and banking on sovereignty, that 195 states are sovereign, even if you are 5 million, and then your economy is, GDP is this, and then you say, no, we are a sovereign state. Sovereignty exists, but it is curtailed at some point. So, positive aspects by great leaders should be sold and shared to the international community, so that you look to have been acting honestly, it saves you and saves the nation. The other aspect is on the region itself. Last week I was in Abuja, and in the meeting that we were, there was regional, the anxiety in which Southern Africa is really busy calling Congo as part of the SADC. Congo is part of SADC because of its resources and otherwise. So it's really a great member to the economy of Southern Africa. And the Southern African states are actually wanting to use M23 as a regime change. So just like Tanzania did to Amin, because we wanted it. So the Angola, the South African, and everything will want to use M23 to cause any regime change in the region. Even if it meant military intervention, they have the capacity. So the implication to me, therefore, Mr. Chairman, is I look at the implication of M23 from the UN perspective, the procedural aspect, and from the regional forces. So whichever leader thinks, especially the way I've had my senior old boy of Kigali. I am the chairman of the old boy, so I have an old boy who is a head of state in Rwanda as well. I've had the senior old boy saying that maybe the experts were not good enough and please ignore whatever they have said. But it's just a question of armor falling down at the UN Security Council in New York. So the implication, in summary, therefore, in two aspects, the UN system with its procedural aspect and the regional groups who would actually want a regime change. Thank you.
So certainly we will be entertained with that evidence. No, but listening to the two previous speakers, I thought I should really chip in. And I'll begin with the Captain Awich, you know, who is referring to the UN experts and the report that they made. But I think it is not really, I shouldn't say it is authentic, but what's wrong with visualizing evidence? You see, in this modern era of television, of cameras, of Twitter, I mean, something happens in Syria. All of a sudden you see it on Al Jazeera, you see it everywhere. So if Uganda's military assets, the DRC, why can't they visualize it? Why are they hiding everything in text? You see? If they say there is an office M23 in Kampala, where are the photographs? Is that really hard? So it's hiding things in the text. I really feel it is suspicious, and I'm really happy that we are engaged in this fierce diplomacy. Maybe it could help. Because the accusations are so grand, but visible evidence is exceedingly lacking. And I really want us to be honest on that. So it's not true that UN is always correct. They also have interests. They have their own internal politics. There are a lot of grand issues. And I think experts in international relations and geopolitics will be able to tell us more. Then the other aspect, you know, my friend Chibazo was very callous, and I think quoting historical issues of Leopold in Congo and organized plunder. But I think there is more in peace. There are more economic returns in peace. And there is evidence to that. You have a pacified Southern Sudan. You have got trade of billions of dollars every year. Intertrade between Uganda and Southern Sudan and across the region. A mildly pacified Congo. You know, all this trade you see in Chukubu and people building malls. Where is that money coming from? Through exports. Congolese, they come with a lot of money in stocks. I really want us to be realistic. If you go to places like Mpondwe and you see that cross-border trade, I think which should now be shrinking because of operations of some of those forces. So we all, I think, have interest in a pacified Congo, in a pacified Great Lakes region, and this is why, because of efforts of most of these nations, M23, I think Arthur was right, it was a peace accord. Kashirin showed me evidence that it was on March 2009. Yeah, 2009, I think, yes. So we all have interest in peace, and I think we have to be quite careful in believing some of these interesting reports. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I would have come to Bruce, but...
Apologize for being late. I hate it myself. but it's good I'm here, and I take cognizance of the comments of the DP President. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I salute you all. And my submission is hinged on the statement that goes, the M23, victims rather than the cause of the Congo crisis. Victims rather than the cause of the Congo crisis. And I start with the quote. The various scramble for loot that ever disfigured the history of human conscience. The looming above them all was King Leopold II, a man as filled with grit and cunning, duplicity and charm, as any of the more complex villains of Shakespeare. Adam Hochschild, author of King Leopold's Ghost. While the above quote is in reference to Leopold and the dehumanization he inflicted onto the Congo people in pursuit of wealth, it is sad to note that it is the real Congo story to date. The description of what King Leopold did is indeed the sad story of Congo to date. It would be naive, therefore, for anyone to regard the M23 question as the cause of the DRC problem. Hence, ending it would not end the crisis. It has been said that Africa is a revolver and the Congo is the trigger. The DRC is located in the heart of Africa. It is covered with rainforests, rivers, mountains, pastures. All of you know